It is live, but no one will see it because it's unlisted and private. Okay, where are we? So today our plan is to basically go through Passage of Time, finish up one other cycle, which is basically another novel chapter, Reputation Epistolary, another novel chapter, and Epistolary. I think that is what we have left. So before we get started, I'll look over our lines and veils again, or just look over the lines and veils again, and just refresh those in your minds. And when you are done and happy with how things are right now, hit OK, type OK into the chat, just so that we are all fresh on what things we do not want to see. And I'll go over collaboration in the phase after this next Passage of Time phase. Great. I'm just going to keep chugging my coffee so I am more awake. Okay. Let's see, what do I want to start with? So I think first we will kind of just like recap. I don't know, do we all need a recap of what happened, or are we okay on what happened 24 hours ago?
I think we're good, but I didn't play more games in between, so you want to clarify it?
I think I'm broadly okay with where we are.
Okay.
I am too.
The odd detail may have
all right.
But if you are going to post this, it might make sense to do a quick recap for any other viewers.
Sure. All right. I mean, so essentially, basically, we have Harriet, the new arrival, who is new arrival / has returned from a time away, who is what is it? Old flames with our Reverend, and secret fiancés of Penelope Rosewater, who is our tutor / humble origins person. We potentially pretending to be poor while not actually being poor, just so that Penelope Rosewater, if Penelope is in love with Harriet, will be loving Harriet for who Harriet is and not for Harriet's money and the promise of freedom. The Reverend potentially still pines for Harriet, but also potentially just really wants a stable life for his son. And also kind of seeks to get the approval of his patron, Sir Martin Ellersby, who is a really terrible person when it comes to Penelope, because like a long time ago, promised to help Penelope get enough money for school, and then was like, actually, I have some bills to pay this month, so you'll have to wait on that. And Penelope was like, that's not okay. And they stopped being friends. But now Penelope is like, if you support Harriet, then maybe we'll be friends again. And that's kind of where we are, if that is, everyone agrees with that. And so in Emma, compared to other Good Society, even in shorter cycle games, we do make inner conflicts so that when we are going through the passage of time, we can frame scenes set around dealing with those inner conflicts. So most of us have inner conflicts written. So Arthur, if you would like to come up with kind of like 2 things that you are kind of picking between / struggling with, that you might potentially set a scene about in this, whatever we're going to talk about, how long the passage of time is. So for the rest of us who have them, we could just like introduce them to each other briefly, what they are. I think Harriet and Penelope, you did, but you can just like a few sentences to buy time.
Right. So Harriet is dealing with this whole, on the one hand, she wants security of Penelope's love for her, and that certainty. On the other hand, she's being really dishonest and underhanded about the way she's trying to get it. and she's getting to the point where she's actually recognizing that perhaps she's going too far and isn't quite sure what to do about it. So that's what she's wrestling with.
Penelope?
The way we left it, career versus desire, is that she has always wanted this ability to be her own school mistress and run her own school and not just be a tutor at the whims of a patron. And she realizes that only through marriage will she ever be able to attain that. But at the same time, desire for Harriet and the fact that this is the one person who seemed to always appreciate her rather whimsical and perhaps eccentric personality and approaches to life. And I realized something that I failed to pick up on yesterday that I think fits into this desire piece, which was the rumor that, and I can't remember if it was Marleigh or David who wrote this one, that's Penelope Rosewater is clearly too eccentric to ever marry. And I kept thinking about that in terms of how other people thought about her, and I realized that it was extremely important that if she picked up on that, that's how she perceives herself as well.
Oh.
And so that if she felt that that was the case, that this would be another reason why Harriet was finally cooling and perhaps lost her money in order to get out of this, because no, Penelope is just too weird. And, you know, like Harriet can't. And so that's another reason why the way I see Penelope's desire and where it led to her deal with Martin was she sees her love as her desire and love for Harriet to get her back what she's lost, even at the expense of the relationship. Like, and so that, like, if she really loves Harriet, she will help her get her money back and help her restore her life, because there's no way Harriet's ever going to be happy being a school marm or a scullery maid and working for a living.
The sadness. David, are you ready to talk about freedom versus responsibility?
Yeah, I think so. So I think in this case, it's sort of the main conflict, I think, for Arthur is the sort of freedom to like live his life the way he is at the moment and carry on, but balanced against the responsibility to provide for Tristan and give him what he needs to sort of get ahead in the world. So it's that sort of like whether he sort of does try and find a marriage of convenience that will improve their circumstances, or continue in this more sort of freewheeling. I mean, say freewheeling as a parish priest, but fairly independent life that they sort of lead at the moment.
Yeah. And then for Sir Martin, I basically just picked friendship versus pride, like the importance of those friendships, like Harriet and Penelope, and whether or not he's jealous of their friendship/relationship that he doesn't really understand the depth of, or just like the pride of being like sure of himself and doing what he wants to do in the world, instead of like just trying to be nice and friends with everyone. Okay, so that is our inner conflict, and in the next phase, we will be able to set scenes based on whether or not we pursue something in pursuit of one side of the inner conflict or the other side of the inner conflict. And I realized I should probably have basically brought up what wishes we had from the last session, which is mostly to heap drama on Arthur. And I think Marleigh wanted to play Tristan, and if there are other wishes that I am forgetting, please speak up, because I should have listened to them again, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, all of my goals for today, I believe, are also everyone else's goals, which basically is to play the game and
Yes.
see how the plots
All right.
progress.
So
Just to double check though, we
sunlit.
set the tone
Yeah.
at sunlit, I think. So are we in fact we are angling for a happy ending? Or do we want to
I
leave
think
that
it
more
like
ambiguous?
maybe this is something we can talk about, like how important is a happy ending to everyone? Because sunlit, while it's beautiful, wistful, dreamy, our desires, our futures we're striving towards, and the world is filled with possibility, and even in our darkest moments there is hope, doesn't all necessarily have to mean that every character has a happy ending. So maybe like to put all of our cards on the table, since this is a shorter run, like we can talk about like, do we want characters, like do we want to aim towards a happy ending for characters, or what does a happy ending look like for characters, kind of like, so we can work towards that together.
I know. Harriet's wanting me inside and outside of the game with this questioning our happy ending.
Yeah, you're breaking Nicole's heart if there's not some happy endings here.
All right.
At least
Okay.
someone has a happy
Okay,
ending.
no.
Not
All
everyone.
right.
Somebody has to have a happy ending. Even
I
if it's
mean,
not Penelope.
does Penelope
Yeah,
want
I
a happy
mean,
ending?
I mean, I was feeling like the game was heading at least towards hopeful endings, and that
Yes.
is just the feel of this game the way it was yesterday. And I agree that, believe me, I can get dark and broody and terrible all you want, but it just didn't feel like that's where we were headed yesterday. So that's
Totally.
I mean,
Okay. Arthur, are you feeling a happy ending for or David, are you feeling a happy ending for Arthur?
Yes, I think
or hopeful?
I think I think I'm kind of happy to see where it goes. Really, I think unless like some like real serious drama comes up, today, I don't really see any of the kind of real potential endings at the minute for Arthur being tragic. Put it that way. I think it's a question of what happens to him, but I don't think that his like dramatic pole is really kind of triumph or tragedy. It's more probably a bit more muted than that.
Yeah. I think all of our sunlets will be like normal sunlit and not like launch yourself into the sunlit. Just like happy fall. Okay. So now we are going to the passage of time. So like the thing we have to talk about is how long do we want this to be? Considering like it is a shortened playtime, so we kind of it's like we don't really have a lot of time to dive really into in these novel chapters, or at least in the last session we didn't have super deep dives and see so many scenes. I will say that the passage of time doesn't mean that we just like time skip like however many years. We can set scenes within the passage of time that are like very much at the start of it, and like they can all happen right after each other. So we originally at the start of this collaboration said that we wanted to see like half a lifetime, or like a largish span of time between the start and the end of the game. For the passage of time, like in the book, the word recommended like number of years to have is like 10 to 15 for the game of this length being super speed run like Emma. But we can also talk about whether we want to see like a shorter, like 5-year, 7-year, something like that gap, and just set a whole bunch of scenes at the start so that perhaps we can tie up some of the drama between Harriet and Penelope, and then also have space for other things to happen. And I guess the way that Passage of Time works is that everyone can frame 2 scenes for free. And these are they are all on the side of the character sheet when you highlight like the note over Passage of Time. You can have a weather interlude, a scene or vignette about a rumor coming true, which includes changing fortunes, a scene or vignette about your character's inner conflict, or you can pay a resolve token to have a scene or vignette about something completely different. So what are people thinking?
I'm sorry. Is this on the where on the page?
On the if you see the little cycle of play thing all the way
so
to the
the
right.
PDF.
Yeah, on the it's on the PDF. Yes, it's also on the character keeper.
Oh, the dawn, dusk, day.
If you go above that,
Yep.
there's like the little check boxes,
Oh, the
and
cycle.
if you just highlight passage of time, there's like a little note that pops up.
Gotcha. There we go. Thank you.
And so that just says kind of the things that are available to do in this, however long we decide this is going to be. So
Yeah, I feel like Harriet and Penelope need some resolution, even if that resolution is to, I don't know, decide they're not going to resolve for a while. But it also occurs to me that like if they do decide to get hitched or something like that, I'm sure that we can come up with other ways to complicate the relationship
right,
to keep the game interesting.
because that is like part of is like to see how things change with like the changing of time and changing of your relationships to each other. So if that is something you'd like to explore, that is possible.
I was wondering, I would like to explore that in terms of both of them doing something that they think is what the other person needs or wants, but it's actually probably not, and it's causing separation, if not temporary or whatever. Like, I was thinking, and that's the resolution, at least for now, of which, because I was thinking, yeah, I don't know how specific you want to get, but I definitely think they're this odd little, this tension can't just sit there for 5 years, something like
that. I mean,
yeah.
You can set something that happens like a few months into this time, or like even a week. So
yeah. The other thing I was just going to say in terms of like how long we want the time skip to be, I personally don't mind, like about 10 years sounds right, but I guess partially that's a question to Marleigh, I guess, about like what, when we get into like the next section, how old you're interested in Tristan being, as I think he's probably the character that's most, because he's obviously a child at the moment, is the one where the passage of time is going to be have the most effect on him, I guess.
Yeah, I'm open to whatever. If we make him older, then there will be different shenanigans than if he was younger. But I'm sure we can come up with shenanigans regardless.
Suddenly,
because I think that is interesting. Is he like 15 now, or is he 20? That's a big difference. And I think both of them are interesting, but like I think really changes the tone in a lot of ways.
Yeah, my feeling is that if we got him to the point of marriageable age, then he's going to start having some courtship. Could be one of the themes, which, considering what Arthur is thinking about and struggling with, might be some interesting drama.
So
if you're into that.
I have some ideas that just percolated through my head because my game yesterday got canceled in the afternoon, so I literally had no time to do but think about this game for 24 hours. But I don't know if we want to get into,
if they're like scene type suggestions, let's save that for when we are in and you guys are starting and you all start to frame whatever scenes it is. Let's say the other thing with like passage of time is like for our older connections, like Lady Beatrice and Sir Ashton, they're getting up there, and I feel like I don't know, a 10-year gap would at least start to press the pressure of like Sir Ashton and Lady Beatrice to like start. I don't know how old people live to be in Regency times, but like really push this whole you got to get your life together thing. So I'm leaning towards a longer passage and then just having like a condensed section at the start where there are a lot of scenes that are together, and then maybe we have space later for like the aftermath of some of that, and then we'll come back to the characters at the end of it and see how that time has changed.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Does that work for everyone?
Sure.
Sure.
And then the other thing also with the passage of time is these scenes do not happen like when we set a scene or a vignette, that does not have to happen chronologically. You can say like, okay, this happens like say Tristan and Arthur have a scene about like something, and then suddenly there's another scene that people think about that, oh, like we could have this before that scene, like that comes up later. So we are making those little 3x5 note cards and just like arranging our own little timeline of scenes here. So we have that flexibility. And if somehow all of our scenes happen to be like 3/4 of the way through this passage of time because timelines are hard to deal with, then that is also okay. So we can be a little bit vague on what exactly the timeline is, but afterwards we can talk about exactly how many years we all aged, if that makes sense. Okay. Do people have questions about how framing scenes in the passage of time work? Because I can go over that a little bit more.
Are there certain rules to that are different than the novel scenes or something?
They're a little bit more prescripted in that you can do so you each have two, or we all have two. You can do a weather interlude, which is listed underneath the cycle of play, which is just like the epistolary one. You can set a scene or vignette about a rumor coming true. So if you go to Rumor and Scandal, you can say, I would like to set a scene around any of these things here becoming true, even if it is fading, or even if it's that changing fortune about Martin's patronage. You can also, for setting a scene around your inner conflict, you can decide, I want to set a scene about pushing someone away for pride, and I would set a scene around that. Or you can just also say, well, none of these are exciting to me, so I'm just going to have a scene about riding horses through the woods, something like that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If we propose a scene that involves another character,
yes,
I would assume we want those.
Yeah.
They're more interesting, but I like so because I mean I have an idea for one, but I want to get that player's okay with the idea. And
in terms of like keeping count, it is the person who sets the scene who's like two goes. Well, that will count for. And for setting a scene with other characters, those can be, again, your inner conflict, which I feel like your scenes will probably involve your inner conflict for Penelope, potentially.
Yes.
Or if it's something that's not covered by something, you can just pay a resolve token, which you have one of, but will work. And also, just so it's in our heads, Penelope and Harriet do have negative reputation conditions playing. So, oh no. Okay. Did you miss a lot of that?
Something about, and that will probably involve Penelope's interconflict.
Okay.
Last I heard.
Yeah. We're just talking about setting scenes for the passage of time. Because Penelope is interested in setting scenes with other people.
I'm ready to go whenever anybody else is.
Yeah, if you have an idea.
So I'm going to propose something which will then have an implication that I would love to see how Marleigh runs with it. So, but what I'm proposing is actually between Penelope and Arthur. And it's a scene a year later where Penelope is sitting down with him to review the time she has now spent as the tutor for Tristan, as he has become her sponsor and she has moved into that house, and she is working as a tutor for him and his son, and which implies clearly that she is not at that point married to Harriet, and we don't know exactly where Harriet is, but with the implication, because I really like the freedom versus responsibility thing you brought up, that maybe Arthur likes this working relationship because it's his responsibility and his freedom all at once. Like he doesn't, you know. So I don't know. That was kind of an idea of a scene that I would like to try, but then it definitely has implications for what happened in the past year to get us to that point. So.
And we can flash back if we need to.
Right.
I just have a quick question for Penelope. It sounds like this is potentially taking action in pursuit of desire. Is that the inner conflict that y'all are setting the scene around?
Yes.
Or not desire, a career.
Yes. And,
okay.
You know, there's actually reasons why it actually meshes with both, but it's, yes, it would be on the surface, action in pursuit of career.
All right. So if that is the scene that everyone involved is cool with, you can check that box on your inner conflict, Penelope.
I just didn't know how Arthur or David felt about it.
Yeah, no, that sounds good to me. And I guess if I guess we could potentially have Tristan in the scene as well, if Marleigh fancies it.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think maybe sort of at the vicarage and yeah, I think maybe it's just sort of as Arthur is like coming back in from sort of a walk out in the hills. You know, he's sort of got the slightly battered old tweeds on, and his like walking staff, and probably got like a pipe hanging out the corner of his mouth as he sort of walks back up the little path through the garden of the vicarage.
Are we actually playing the scene, or are we each people suggesting different scenes that they want?
I think we'll actually play this scene out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's where we were. Yeah.
I can't mute. Sorry, just a second. Sorry. Did you want to continue, or did you want?
Yeah, no, I'm happy for you to pick up where sort of where we find where we find sorry, I'm blanking on names again.
Penelope.
Yep.
So Penelope, you come in, and it's become I kind of see this as like, you know, the beginning of season 2, and the viewers are watching as he walks in, and then he sees that Penelope is there, and she's teaching Tristan, and she greets him in a more warm and casual way, like, you know, welcome home, you know, Sir Arthur. How was your walk? Tristan did well in math today, and he wants to, you know, he would love to be able to show you his figures. He's got quite a head on his shoulders, and she's kind of bustling around the garden and carrying food in to the kitchen to kind of looks like making dinner. And like the viewers would be like, what? How did this happen? Like, how did she end up here? And so she sets the fruit and the fruit down from the garden, and you know, pulls out a little notepad. She's been taking notes and saying, you know, and whenever you're ready, I would like to discuss, it is time for our annual review. And I would like, you know, to understand, how you find my position here to be working. And so whenever you're ready today, I would love to have that conversation.
Of course, Penelope, and thank you as ever for all your hard work around the house. It's been a delight to have you here. It was obviously an awful shame about poor old Mrs. Endicott, but you've been taking on the duties wonderfully, and I'm sure Tristan is. It seems to be blossoming under your ministrations.
He is a very bright boy, and you should be proud of him. So, if you have a moment, I just wanted to make sure, and I very much appreciate that, and you've been very kind and always positive in your review of me. But I would like to kind of verify that that this working relationship is continuing, because I very much enjoy the working with Tristan and being here. So do you have a moment?
Of course. And he'll kind of take off his coat and just hang it over the back of one of the kitchen chairs. Sort of reaches inside one of the inside pockets and pulls out like a sort of plug of a plant that's just sort of wrapped up in a bit of paper, and he'll sort of start busying putting that into a glass jar. There's this lovely sample I found up on the back hills. So get that in the garden. But anyway, yes, I've been thoroughly, as I say, thoroughly impressed by your work here, Penelope. You manage the house wonderfully, and as I say, your work with Tristan has been excellent. I am more than happy to keep you on here. I know the wage I can manage is not the greatest, but a vicar's life is what it is. My only concern, and he'll sort of light his pipe again off of the range and sort of sit down in the chair. I wonder, are you happy with this arrangement? He just sort of waves his pipe around, sort of taking the house in general.
And you see a bit of a wistful smile on her, like, because she does look around, and there's a bit of a yip yip, and then a little terrier runs in and jumps on her lap, and she says, if that's your only question, I was hoping that you then there is a great comfort here, and I think you do yourself a disservice in in realizing you're standing in the community and your the respect that you command, and that this is a very desirable position for a tutor such as myself, and that is something that has been very great. And I just wanted to understand if you want to continue this, because I believe there is a lot we could do to continue this. And I was concerned, you have long had a working relationship with Sir Martin, and if I'm not too forward, I know that was causing you some concern in the past, and he has not been about recently. Is there any concern? Because I would totally understand if there was an issue, and I don't want to be a burden in case there is.
It is quite all right. I do not myself wish to be a burden on Sir Martin. it is something I myself must think on about how best to proceed with keeping this little place running. My work means a lot to me, looking after the people of this village, and it's, as I say, merely the practicalities of is fine by me. I suppose my thought was, I appreciate the work that you do tutoring Tristan and the other children of the village, and like it is a great help to them all. I just wonder if you wouldn't be maybe happier in a proper school somewhere a little more established. I mean, it would be a great shame to see you go, but if you ever wished letters of recommendation, such as my humble word could give, then I'm sure that many of the fine schools of the county would be more than happy to have a teacher of such skill and compassion as yourself.
Okay, how about now is when Tristan barges in. Okay.
Actually, can I say one sentence and then
Sure.
That's exactly where he comes in, because I think
Okay.
I love this. Which is, she looks down, can't meet his eyes when he mentions, a larger school, and she says, as always, you think of others and ask of them when I was going to ask you whether you were happy in your current position, and boom. And like, just as a moment of maybe a conversation was happening. Hello, Tristan.
Tristan, a ginger 11-year-old, barges in, and he's got a wagon, which really shouldn't be coming into the house, but he's pulling it in anyway. He's yelling, Miss Penny, come quick! There was a bunch of puppies and they were going to be drowned, and so I saved them. Hello, Dad. We've got puppies now. We can have puppies, can't we? They were going to die otherwise.
Well, I'm sure we can.
Miss Penny says dogs are all God's creatures, and we must always be careful and treat them with kindness and respect.
Oh my, that is just a tragedy, and you averted it, Tristan. That is, yes. You are the hero of the day. I am so impressed. And Penelope can't help but go over and start like picking up the puppies and being completely distracted from the conversation. I
they
see
look
them
very
all.
young. Do you see how their eyes are still kind of squinty?
We will need go to the goat and begin to get some milk. We're going to need to feed them, and it's going to be a bit of you're going to need some work. They need suckling. They're too quickly taken from their mother. And
yes. I thought this would be very good training for when I become a doctor someday.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Well, with such an educational angle, I couldn't possibly say no, and he'll kind of give a grin as he sort of sucks on his pipe.
Thank you, Dad. And he runs off to it's like, oh, we have to give the wagon back to the farmer. And then goes off to milk the goat as it's requested.
That's probably. Oh, God.
Penelope turning and looking at Arthur, and she's got two puppies still left in her hands as he ran off, leaving her with two of them. And I do apologize. That was a bit abrupt, but he is such a good-hearted lad, and you should be very proud of him. And
And you too, Penelope. The poor boy has been too long without a mother. Not, of course, that I would put such a burden upon you, but you've certainly been there for him.
That I do. She probably blushes a little bit at that. She says, "I do have to say that I have feelings for him as if he was my own son. That this is quite unexpected, but a pleasant finding on my part." And she'll probably curtsy at that point, and with the dog still in her hands, and say, I should get them outside. Don't want them to soil the carpet. And but if anybody wants to throw a monologue token.
The only person with a monologue token left is David.
Okay.
And David cannot throw it at himself.
Okay. Can I just monologue without somebody telling me to? Or not?
You've already monologued this cycle, but in your next passage of time thing, you could choose to do a weather interlude, which will allow you to monologue about a difficult question, or things that will never be, or new hopes, etc. So yeah, that was great. Does anyone have an idea for their next passage of time, which could be before this? Like, what is Harriet doing?
I have an idea for one, but I'm happy to sit out for one just because I've just had quite a long scene. So if someone else wants to jump in, that is cool.
It's completely up to you.
I'm wondering about both Harriet and Martin. Like the way we left things, Martin was going to confront Harriet about this whole, why is Penelope trying to restore your fortunes? That's all kind of weird.
Yeah. Okay. Let's set a scene. I'll have Puppy.
Yes, Ryan will be adding the canine ambiance.
Excellent. I'm very distracted by animals.
Good boy. Sorry, someone came.
This is ours.
Someone had the audacity to walk by our door.
Oh no! Gotta protect.
Chewy's asleep.
Oh. Okay. What if I will set a scene as Martin, where I have gone to visit Harriet, and this is probably like a month after the last novel chapter, or a week, something very close to the start of this passage of time, and like walking stick knock on the door of Harriet's cottage, and like not even waiting for Thomas to open it, just like pulls the door and lets himself in.
They're best friends? Sure.
Harry, my dear.
Ah, Martin. Good to stop by. Good to see you. Tea or something stronger?
Something stronger, but I'm not sure if you can afford it.
Oh, well, there's always sherry.
What's all this about? The change in your fortunes?
Oh, yes, very tragic. Gambled away. Quite living in the cottage.
I didn't consider you to be a losing type when it came to gambling.
Well, that's why it's called gambling, I suppose.
I had thought that I suppose you were a little bit questioning on your knowledge of horses and which ones to bet on.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't realize it had come to be this bad. You have school mistresses asking for, well, forgive me. I guess if I were to say that, I would have to offer Penelope a resolve token. Can I offer you a resolve token to have Martin spill schoolmistress to Harry?
Sure. So I'll just unclick a resolve token.
I'll do the transfer. I will give it to you. Okay. So because this is going specifically against what Harriet told him, or what Penelope told Martin to do.
Okay.
Yeah, Martin's just be like, you have school mistresses arguing on your behalf to me.
I'm sorry? You must mean Penelope Rosewater, but what is she asking you for?
Well, to support you, I guess. To raise you from these depths. Where is your chandelier?
That's the greatest line ever.
Yes, I'm sorry. Miss Rosewater came to you and asked you to help me out financially.
That seemed to be the gist of it.
I have so many questions. I
I
hadn't
as
realized you
well.
were. I thought you two quite estranged. I didn't realize you were on terms where she could be asking you for favors, and if so, she has a school she wants built. Surely that is, if loans were to be made, that would be the more logical way to, the more logical favor.
One would have thought, but she, being the selfless human being that she is, apparently requested that I help you. Could you enlighten me as to your relationship? Because I thought we were best of friends, Harry, and apparently there's a layer here that I do not understand.
As a side note, Nicole, Neil, why are we keeping our engagement secret? Because I feel like Harriet's in a state where she's going to blurt.
I mean, part of me saw it as maybe we met because I love the idea that we met through Martin.
Mhm.
Like he was the friend that we'd met through, and it was always just kind of one of those, you know, Harriet is this worldly rich person, Penelope is this more, you know, down at home, practical, you know, dog lover, and it, you know, the what does you call it, the spring autumn relation, you know, like just whatever. It's just, it was all, everything about it was just not proper in a lot of
Also
ways.
being class.
Oh, Nicole had a good one. I don't know if you heard that. That maybe Penelope said that it was, or felt it was too soon after Arthur, and that she kind of, there was concerns that, you know,
Being
and maybe
such a bleeding heart, she didn't hurt his feelings.
like, yeah, I like that. She didn't want to hurt his feelings, but also maybe there was just this whole, maybe they felt so much that they both doubted it a little bit. You know, that whole like piece of it that for some reason they were protecting themselves from that full commitment. And I do see Penelope's career thing being like, she felt she needed to earn her place. She needed to find a tutorage. She needed to be able to offer something to the relationship. She's very yeah, she needed to have that ability to bring something to the relationship, or she felt that. So I could see a lot of different reasons that just complicated the whole thing.
So it's like a personal things that are keeping you from saying it out loud rather than necessarily society.
Unless you had an idea about something more sinister.
Yeah, I think Harriet will look at Martin briefly and then just cracks. Because she's been under all the pressure with all this, and it's all gone a bit too far. And that is, in fact, what she will say. It's like, oh, and she sinks down to the couch with her head in her hands and says, oh, it's gone far. It's just gotten completely out of hand. It seemed like such a good idea at the time, but now it really, the chandelier's in the basement. It's all a farce. I'm just fine. Miss Penelope and I have been engaged for quite some number of years, but I wanted to be sure that she loved me for myself and not for my money. So I thought if I portrayed myself as penniless and she still wanted to marry me, then I would know. And we had a conversation, and I was expecting it to come out one way or the other, and then she was just sad and strange and wouldn't talk to me and just left. And now I'm not sure if my worst fears have come true. Maybe that was why, or at least in part. How much of a part is important? I don't know. So yes, I've in no need of any loans. I was really hoping to have this all sorted out weeks ago, and it's just not, and I don't understand what to do now.
Let me just check first. Okay. Nicole / Neil, would you have wanted a resolve token for that secret to be spread out, or are you okay like at this point with that just happening?
Oh, I'm happy to pay a resolve token. I'm still not clear on the mechanics quite. So
mostly if it's something that might like harm another player's interest or like complicate things for them, that is a good time to be like, I'll just check.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't have a problem with it bursting out, though I'm seeing it as it's going to cause further complication rather than actually resolving anything. So it resolves the secret, but it doesn't resolve the relationship in a positive way. I'm totally fine with that.
All right. And then your note was scratch the potential reasoning being Arthur being sad about Harriet.
Yeah, we can scratch that.
All right. So the other reasons, the other many reasons.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, Martin has just been like staring at Harriet this entire time. Kind of like this like look of disbelief on his face. Just like well, Harriet, if Penelope has seen it in herself to ask me, who is in possession of a great deal of money at this moment in time, and will be in possession of a great deal of money in the future, hopefully, to help you rather than for anything for herself, I think you can be rest assured that somewhere in Penelope's depths, she does love you for who you are, because otherwise, well, she most likely could have found some other way to acquire this money that didn't require some complicated transaction in which, in order for me to regain my friendship with her, she asked this favor. Not love would have not been so convoluted.
And so she wants you to give me money so that you and she can be friends?
Well, I suppose I asked if there was something I could do to repair a relationship, because this is a small town and I just could not handle when she looked at me so disapprovingly all the time. So I asked if there was something I could do, and this is what she asked. So, based on the complicated nature of this transaction, I think, my dear Harriet, that you should believe that she loves you and would also like to have a school, but she loves you.
Is that what it means? Or does it mean she only loves me when I'm rich? So she's trying to make me rich so she can love me again.
I suppose you could look at it that way, yes. But, well, okay, then. How about
Mhm.
this?
All right.
I will refuse to help you because you don't need my help, apparently. You're just
I don't.
tending to be poor.
Mhm.
And we can continue this charade for as long as it will take for you to believe that you are loved. And, well, you'll just have to be. Could you put a word in for me with Penelope?
Oh.
Make it look like I'm not helping you. Oh.
What?
Well, no, never mind.
Please tell me you have an idea. I'm really quite.
I had an idea, but it required you looking rich again, which is not what you want. Oh, you were muted.
Yeah,
It's 10 o'clock.
these are very old and they run out of battery really fast.
Oh no.
And
It's 10 o'clock.
and it's 10 o'clock. I have a talking clock as well.
Okay.
Anyway, I mean, if I could look rich again and still find the same information, but I don't see how that works.
Very
I
well.
already know she loves me when I'm rich. I think. Probably.
Yes.
Yes.
And that was why I did not speak that idea out loud.
Mm-hmm. Well, now I'm dying of curiosity. Tell me what it is.
Well, it was entirely that you would appear rich and I would not have to help you, but it was a silly idea and completely opposite what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I suppose there's nothing to it. I shall refuse to help you. Perhaps we can be secret friends.
You and I? Why do we
Yes.
not? Why are we not allowed to be friends?
Because I won't be helping you.
Oh,
Do we? If we have a public to do, she can't be mad at me for not helping you. And you would remain poor.
mm-hmm.
And perhaps she will be more expressive to you.
All right. All right. So we should publicly quarrel.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I think that makes everything work. Does it not?
Yes. Well, it's hard to understand precisely what will happen, but
Uh-huh.
a public quarrel it is.
All right. You're still welcome at the house at any time. I can even bring the chandelier out of the basement to make you more comfortable.
I might try this disguise thing that you are doing. You seem to be enjoying it. I'll come to you. No, but I'll come to you in the dark of night, not as myself.
Oh.
And that is how we shall continue our friendship.
Excellent. Excellent. I'll have the list
Cool.
paper put out.
That's probably,
I'm afraid.
yeah. So that's probably a good place to end that scene.
Sure.
So sorry, there was a sound downstairs. I had to go check it. Was the clarification publicly they're going to have a falling out? And
Yes.
Okay.
And we can define what that looked like, I guess. What do we fight about? We fought about like finances, horses.
Horses make the most sense, I think.
Yeah. Maybe I think we just like fought about yet another horse gambling thing.
And Harriet is going to continue to play the part of having lost her money.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is what these two brilliant individuals have come up with.
We have
This is a
money,
stunning plot.
but not brains. Okay, so Harriet and Arthur, you two still have scenes that you get to set, and Arthur, I think you had an idea.
Yeah. So I was thinking of a probably actually a scene rather than just a letter with Martin to sort of discuss their ongoing situation. I see this being again sort of fairly early on in the time skip. No particular specific thoughts on when it is in relation to everything else, but we can probably fit it in.
Okay, also, I realized I forgot to say exactly which kind of passage of time scene that last one was, so I'm saying retroactively that it was an inner conflict thing in pursuit of Martin's pride and not the friendship, because I think that makes sense.
Okay.
All right. So the scene with Martin and Arthur? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, this is this again is probably going to be an inner conflict one. I'm not sure yet which side it's going to be on. I'll probably sort of determine that after to see how the scene turns out. But I can see this either being at Martin's house again, or maybe at the possibly like after church or something like that. But yeah, whatever you think would be interesting.
Let's do another after church one.
Yeah, sure thing. So yeah, I think it's obviously church got out. Arthur is still in his the white surplice and all that from the service, and he kind of catches up with Martin outside the church afterwards. It says, Sir Martin, good to see you here again this weekend. I hope I hope the service was to your liking.
Little on the nose with the talk of gambling, my dear Reverend, but interesting.
I do apologize. That was not directed at yourself in particular. I was more thinking of the unfortunate situation with Miss Strafford, but that's by the by. Obviously, I would not wish to gossip, but no. I wanted to thank you for all the support you have given me since coming here to the parish. It has been most generous of you. But I feel like it is. I cannot ask you to support me like this indefinitely.
Well, Reverend, it was a minor footnote on my father's, instructions to me. Give some money to the church, he said. So I do. Are you telling me I should cut that off entirely? How exactly will you support the buying of songbooks and flowers?
I had thought it is perhaps time I sought out a match. It has been many years now since my wife passed, and I thought maybe if I found somebody of suitable standing, we might be able to manage the household between ourselves, and no longer have to depend so heavily on your very generous charity.
Are you telling me, Reverend Claythorpe, that you are going to marry for money and not more divine feelings?
Well, one can, if God is willing, one can find love in the most unusual of places. But no, it is. Of course, I would be a loving and caring husband, and I marrying for money is perhaps not quite the right way to put it, but certainly, if I were to find someone with a suitable allowance, and that I might also share some feeling with, it would be good for me, I think, and good for my boy to have another person around the house.
And where exactly do you intend on finding this helpmeet, dear Reverend?
I had not put quite so much thought into it yet. Part of me did wonder if I mean, not of course. I'm sure someone of your station would have. I have no doubt connections far above those who would deign to marry a humble parish priest. But I thought you might have know of a few people in the county who might be seeking a match.
Are you asking me to matchmake for you?
I suppose I am, Sir Martin.
I rather thought my position as your patron would have been a mere stamp of approval type, not the entire search through the countryside for a good potential Reverend's wife or husband.
Well, of course, Sir Martin. If I asked too much, then I do apologize.
Well, I suppose I shall have to keep an eye out. All of our acquaintances in this town, after all, are highly unsuitable for someone of your kindness.
I would not say everyone, Sir Martin, but
Not everyone?
well, but it is, as you say, they're sorry, that's what I'm trying to thought. Yes, there is, but perhaps you're right. It might be as well to look a little further afield than our little village.
Well, if I am to help you find a partner, I think you should give me someone I should model my search on. I will give you a resolve token if you say someone's name and or describe them.
Yeah.
You can also say yes, but or no.
No, I'll take that.
My last resolve token.
And I I will sort of say I probably should. I do not wish to as I say, I do not wish to. It's not my wish to spread gossip. But I was many years ago now, I was very briefly engaged to Miss Strafford, and the engagement was broken off, and I have no doubt that in the I would not wish to reawaken old wounds with Miss Strafford, of course, but I felt for some time that maybe we would have made a good match, but I do not know.
It's just like, again, a look of disbelief on Martin's face. My dear Reverend, my dear Reverend. Just claps you on the shoulder. I will certainly wish you the best of luck and do my best to find you someone who has similar qualities to Miss Strafford. But I must tell you to guard your heart.
Well, it is always a risk when falling when sorry, tripping over my words. It's always a risk, but there is something so there was always something so free and lively about Miss Strafford, and it is that to bring that freedom and that wild abandon is something that appeals to me, I suppose. Maybe not what I ought to be looking for, but
Yes. She may not be as free as you think.
I suppose who can truly know the heart of anyone?
If this is a thing you are bent on considering, I highly suggest that, well, words be exchanged. After all, we are all adults capable of discussing things of the heart. Claps you on the shoulder again. Pat, pat. Is there anything else you'd like to see from that scene?
I think that's good for me.
Okay.
I love that Harriet is now becoming the centerpiece of all
a lot happening.
all relationships swirl about her. It's wonderful.
I propose, if it's okay with everyone, we take a 5-minute break since we have been here for about an hour, and then we'll come back and do the second loop around, which I think at this point, since we've all done one,
Harriet has
yes. No, you
Have I?
haven't.
Did you
Yeah.
pay for that?
Okay.
Okay.
So
Well, I know what I want to do.
cool.
I'm going to blow everything
Yes.
up. Look forward
Take 5.
after the break.
So, do the vignettes have to be with one other player, or
The vignettes are, according to the book, a brief evocative description or account delivered entirely by the player who sets it. So just looking at like pacing and
Sure.
timing wise, I think once we have Harriet's scene that Harriet sets, the vignettes will go a little bit more faster. And then we should still be able to get, I don't know, I have to keep an eye on time.
Sure.
Like, we all have, well, do I have a game? I have a game at 1, but
I have a game
you
at 2.
probably, okay. Or yeah, time zones.
Yeah.
But I will try to get us done on time and hopefully satisfyingly.
It's interesting. I mean, just in some ways, how much more satisfying these initial scenes are because the characters have had a chance to percolate and kind of simmer a bit, and they feel more real in a lot of ways.
Definitely. I think once you have like a little bit of your character, it gets so much easier to be them.
Yeah.
Cool. Food is good. So I'll just start. Harriet, what was your scene?
So I am going to, my scene is actually going to be a letter, if that's okay.
Sure.
Because I think Harriet's being a bit of a coward. So she's going to say what she needs to say in the letter.
Okay.
So she's writing a letter to Penelope. It says, my dearest Penelope, I am ashamed to admit I have been treating you quite shabbily and would like to write.
We have been defeated by the internet.
Am I back?
Yes.
Okay. My circumstances have not been as diminished as I have led you to believe. It was, in fact, all a bit of a ruse to help me with my romantic insecurities. I have frequently been courted by those who are more interested in my bank accounts than my person. And in the depth of my feeling for you, I lost sight of what was important and became consumed with the idea that you were also so motivated. I thought if I came to you with the appearance of poverty, and then I would have my answer whether you would still accept me or not. Instead, I should have trusted you to make your own decisions. The deception got out of hand, and I did not know how to reverse it. And now I am being served my just rewards. I have a letter from my mother in London. She is calling me back. Does not give me details, but my younger brother has fallen in with disreputable sorts and now has gone missing. I must leave immediately to try and sort things out there. If you ever wish to speak to me again, I certainly respect your decision, though hope with time your heart will soften towards one who feels too deeply, if not sensibly. Yours always, Harriet.
I'm trying to decide if that was potentially a weather interlude. maybe like an overcast vignette about a difficult question.
Okay.
Or we can call it like a monologue about things that will never be. Just so that we can play with sticking it in the passage of time. And you will still get a scene then if you want.
Okay.
Okay.
That's very, I love the twist of being pulled off to London.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, so for people liking how this is going, I was thinking Harriet disappears and leaves things kind of but at least goes honest as she goes. But
yeah.
Okay, we can all work with that. Excellent.
And I think we still have vignette. All of us except Harriet still have vignettes. And then Harriet, you have a scene to do. And we have more of the passage of time. So does anyone have an idea right off the bat, or...
I'm still processing this with Harriet because it's a really cool thing to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can run with mine. I'm going to go for a weather interlude, and I think we see like a proper full-on stormy sky, the rain lashing, but this is clearly not in the village. It's sort of as this like ship is tossed on the seas in like sort of proper hurricane weather, and we see sort of a few sailors going about on the deck of the ship, sort of battening stuff down, and we sort of see in the sort of the below decks thing, the Arthur is in there. He's got like a big full beard now, and he's scrawling something in a journal as the sort of ship is tossed by the waves. There's like in the background of the cabin, there's like a parrot in a cage, and a couple of other sort of things like that. He's we sort of see sort of him writing, day whatever of the journey. We've been stuck in storms in the Caribbean for a couple of days now, but the journey continues. I have seen more of the world now in these past year than in all my life to this date, and it has been a great experience, and all the better for knowing that by this work I can provide better for my son than I ever could as a parish priest sort of thing.
Oh my gosh!
I love it. Are you a ship's vicar, or is that?
Yeah, I think he's kind of like the chaplain on a ship. Yeah.
HMS Heartbroken. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Sort of,
okay. So technically, the weather interlude for Storm should be a scene. So I don't.
Oh right. So sorry. I thought they were all just vignette things.
If you'd like to pay a resolve token to make this vignette legally possible,
that sounds fair.
Okay. It's like, I like this, but technically, this is what happens when you like cram the rules into your head. I'm so sorry. Okay. So wow, that is a thing. I think I have one for Sir Martin. This is later on in the passage of time, it's a weather interlude as well, and I think it's a monologue about, well, or a vignette, I'm not sure yet, about I think we see him leaving like his father's house, which is fancier than the one that he lives in, because they have multiple houses, and he has papers in his hand, and I think we see him looking at them, and they're like drafts of wills. Like his father has been talking to him about potential futures of the family and of the estate and of the money that they have earned over time. And his father is basically has probably just been like telling him to get his shit together. And Martin is walking down the village and looking at like Harriet's cottage, that is a mansion, and the vicarage, which has a new vicar, and walking by wherever Penelope has found, and is just like, have I done the right thing in pushing everyone to follow their heart and test what they think is love? Have I just pushed everyone away so that now everyone is sad and not in this village and everything has changed? Was this all because I have tried to twist my friends and gain their friendship? I guess Father wants me to figure out my own life, but how can I do that when apparently my attempts to help other people all have just ended in their distress? And he like gets to his house and like tears this like draft will in pieces. So I think we have a scene from Harriet and something from Penelope left.
So I think I can fit Penelope's into both of Martin's and Arthur's, and see if whether or not I'm doing the correctly in terms of the vignette. But there is a relatively new house up that is well kept up on a hill in the village, and this is what Martin looked up at. It is the home recently come into his adulthood of Sir Tristan Claythorpe, and his, who has begun to build a fortune from his now like oddly famous father, who has become this kind of a notorious adventurer with Her Majesty's service in the Americas, and yet is been able to provide for Tristan in such a way.
So for having something that affects Tristan, that should come from Marleigh, or you would negotiate with Marleigh, since Marleigh is Tristan's player.
Gotcha.
For that.
I'm willing to also throw a resolve token in if that's necessary.
Sure. I mean, I sort of had it in the back of his mind that like the financial crunch would be that he wanted to become a doctor and go to university, but I can also work with this.
Okay.
If you have this picture in your mind of how Tristan and is Penelope there too? Is that the
Yes, I
where you're
was
going with this?
that, this is many years later, and she has continued on as the head of household here and basically been the mother figure for him as he's come into this. And and it could be, maybe that's it, maybe it is we could back up the whole piece where he is about to leave to go be a doctor. I actually like that a lot. And so that they've made a life of themselves. It doesn't have to be a really wealthy life, but and she is about to lose her whole reason for the past whatever many years it's been, that as he is also leaving for London to go to school, and and there's whatever the bustling about of them getting him out the door into the carriage, and is he packed and everything, and the fact that he's leaving for London, but then as he goes away and Penelope goes back inside into this now empty house, and she goes to a dresser drawer and she pulls out and she flips through it and she pulls out this letter and she unfolds it, and clearly she's kept this forever and she's read it and it's been folded a million times, and it's Harriet's last letter to her. And she keeps looking at that final line at the bottom that says, I've been called back to London. And so as Tristan is going, and you can tell that even after all this time, there are thoughts. And she's like, well, I never have seen London. And if that's possible.
Yeah, I
leave it.
think so. And that sounds like, I think that sounds like a weather interlude of some kind. That pretty or contemplative vignette, if that works.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I have an idea for a scene, though then you said that. So now I'm like, do we want to pick up again? Do we want the next chapter to maybe happen in London?
That could be a potential too.
Okay. The scene I was originally going to ask for was Martin and, assuming you're amenable, Martin and Harriet, like someplace weird, like Sicily or something like that, looking for her younger brother.
Okay.
And the implication being Harriet has asked Martin to come help look.
Is this
possibly Martin has some small amount of Italian or something like that. So, and this is just sort of them, resting at a pub, having a fruitless look and maybe chatting a bit.
Is this a scene about like your inner conflict or something coming true, or rash and passionate action?
Oh.
Or is this something that is not related to the things in this passage?
Yeah, it was not really intended to be anything in particular, just sort of touching base on where both of them are, and maybe Harriet asking how things are back in the village and friends hanging out.
Yeah.
If that's too low stakes, I
mean, I can see that it is a scene where potentially you would hear about Arthur and Penelope leaving. So we can just like briefly act that, do like a really quick scene there. And I think that might be something that is unrelated. So you would pay a resolve token.
Okay.
Unless you think that it is part of your inner conflict.
No, I think now that Harriet has come clean, I feel like Harriet has committed to the path of honesty, so they're kind of past all that.
Yeah. So like if we zoom into the part of this conversation where we've like done the like, this is not a very fruitful search for your younger sibling. I think Martin's just gonna be like, We haven't heard from you in the village for a while. It's been awfully quiet.
It's always been a sleepy little place. How is everyone?
Well, the dogs have been running astray recently, and there's no one in the vicarage to cordon the youths. So the village has been, on one hand, more of a party, on the other hand, extremely unlike itself. By quiet, I meant that people I know have gone.
Oh, what's happened to the Reverend and Miss Rosewater?
The last I heard from the young Mr. Claythorpe, the Reverend has been taking the sea air rather intensely, and I am surprised you do not know what has happened to Miss Rosewater.
No, she has not corresponded.
I had heard that, well, again, from the young Mr. Claythorpe, she was seen in London.
She's gone to London.
Far be it from me, Harry, to guess at why, but I do recall you were in London at some point these last few years.
Yes. All right.
When will you show up in England again?
Well, I think this lead does not seem to be panning out. So I would expect I would be back shortly, unless you can think of anywhere else to look.
No. I'm afraid we may have to ask for help from far more investigative types.
And you? How are you? Seems whenever we meet, we always talk about me.
Nothing much to say. Father has been ill recently and therefore has been trying to get me to take him a little bit more seriously, but he still prefers those puce waistcoats that just make my eyes bleed. But
they did always seem a very droll affectation.
it is, Father. I'll do my best to make him happy. Is there anything else we'd like to see from this?
Yeah, I think the parting line is something like, do not judge him too harshly, Martin. If there's one thing I've learned recently is it's easy to take family for granted.
Yeah, I think we probably just
Yeah.
scene change with whatever somewhat sad reaction is on Martin's face. Okay, I think we managed to make it through the passage of time. Somehow things have changed. We'll say that was 10. So now we're in the upkeep phase. So we'll say that everything happened around 10 years, maybe? Does that seem about right for all this drama? Or we can make it 7. Okay. Let's say 10. So change your character's age. Wow, I've never been 43. Change the connections as well. The next step is if you think that your desires, probably your immediate desire, needs to be changed, you can go ahead and figure something out that your character wants more. I have a list of desires. If you think that your desire no longer is relevant, feel free to change your desire. I have just copied, I'm going to copy and paste this link to a spreadsheet that has on the very last page a list of desires from Good Society. If you need help. But if you don't think it needs to change, that is also fine.
So
Yes.
I don't know. I was just thinking, like, looking at this is, I think what's funny is, like, in some ways her lifetime desire has happened, but her immediate desire never came true. And so I definitely feel like she's in a very different place now. So, I don't know. It is a...
Yeah.
And like the relationships have all changed significantly.
Yeah, we have done a thing to our characters. I think we can change relationships as well during the upkeep phase. I think it's technically we can use fortune points, but also if it just no longer makes sense. Yeah, you do have a fortune point from your pivotal moment, so you can use that to change your relationship. But if you think your first desire, I think your lifetime desire, you can probably, a home can be made more of a home. But if your immediate desire, it could be something like, do you want to reconcile with Harriet or just no?
Just realized my immediate desires and lifetime desires are probably swapped.
Yeah. And this can also be like something you just make up off the top of your head. Oh, I like that immediate desire, Penelope. I think my immediate desire probably still works. Maybe I can change it to be just like rewrite it a little bit.
So Nicole and Neil, are they still engaged? They
So
seem super avoidy, so I feel like they never formally broke it off.
exactly. I was actually thinking that too, and I was, in my mind, Penelope has not been engaged to anybody since or been in that relationship since. So
Yeah, I think that's where
technically,
Harriet's at too.
so I am completely agreed that technically that is still the case.
All right. If you feel like your connections have become outdated or you would like a new connection, you can also create one in the row beneath. I kind of feel like unless Arthur would like to create a connection for a potential suitor, the closeness of and maybe we haven't really seen play from some of these, like we could still explore them. But if you would like to create another connection, there is another row underneath our current connections.
So, depending on how plot twisty we want, I was wondering if Lady Beatrice has, so she's 68 now.
Mm-hmm.
She has continued to be this figure who has supported Penelope, and when Penelope went to London, Lady Beatrice gave her a contact of a young, actually, I don't know how old, but a man who Lady Beatrice said would be an excellent person to, Lady Beatrice has been, anyway, the whole point I was thinking for super plot is that whatever Harriet's brother's name is, he's changed it, and Lady Beatrice has been hiding him this whole time. And so unbeknownst to Penelope, she's now been kind of boarding in a house that Beatrice has given to the brother, so the brother can kind of start his life over from whatever crazy thing he got into. And so there is this connection there
This is
utterly plot. And
yeah.
crazy,
but this is totally also up to David because he is playing Lady Beatrice. Like you can collaborate on that, but I would say that probably, I don't know, I feel like if we introduce more like external plots that might sprawl our story out a little bit more, then we'll have the space to really condense into our 2 hours left.
I was just trying to think of a way to bring Lady Beatrice into
it,
but
and like as the person playing Lady Beatrice, David, if you have ideas, that's also something we can talk about.
Yeah, sure thing.
Okay. And we can think as we're going in through upkeep, if you think of a connection you can want to make, but I think we're there. All right, we have one monologue token left. That is David's. If you would like to make... Okay, the only person who hasn't monologued is Harriet. So, yeah, if you want to throw a monologue token at Harriet, please do so. There's a lot.
Yeah, I think my question is going to be, I mean, I say simple, but what does Harriet want now? What's like her main motivation?
Yeah, so Harriet has been devoting herself to her immediate family and has that has become her main focus. And there's still just this open question of what happened to her brother. And I think over time she has figured out a lot of it, that he has, all these debts, and and they're still trying to even figure out whether he's alive or dead. And at this point, she's kind of given up hope that he's still alive. Yeah, we see these, you can see some ads in the paper, in the personal items, that it's like, all will be forgiven if you just come home. Yeah, I think near the end of the 10 years, they probably actually have a funeral for him.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. Well, if he's been disappeared all this time, but.
Okay, I will refresh our monologue tokens, everyone, and set everyone back to having not monologued this cycle. I All right, got to look at my list of things to do in upkeep, which is everyone will get one more resolve token because this is a game with less than 3 cycles. So you have slightly more power. Very important. And also take a look at your inner conflict. And judging off of the action in this last cycle, if you think that you can mark things off on your inner conflict, you can go ahead and take a resolve token for the things that you are marking in this current phase, not for the things that have happened in the passage of time. And if you need to make a new inner conflict because you have successfully destroyed your chance of pursuing the other, please do so, although it's not going to be as important mechanically in this next cycle because we're not going to hit another passage of time. So David, you'll take, I think, 2 more resolve tokens based off what checkboxes have occurred.
Sure thing.
Did I do anything?
Sorry, I was muted. Are you saying that we're checking off things that did happen in the passage of time?
Not in the passage of time. You checked one side already for that scene that you did. So if you think in like the whole course of this cycle, which is from yesterday, I think it's in this cycle. If there's other things that you did that were not that one scene that that fall on one side of this inner conflict, then you can check that off and gain a resolve token for doing that. An additional resolve token. That came out sort of convoluted.
Yeah, I'm still not clear. Like, so throughout the course of the game?
Let me check to make sure.
Yeah.
I think
I was just saying I could kind of justify the first 3 from Penelope's point of view. And I just wanted to make sure, and the first one was already checked off, but I just was trying to.
Yeah. The first one was checked off because of the scene in the passage.
Right.
Yeah, because like Harriet was very far into, I'm lying to everyone just so I can be secure, and then has since gone much more hardcore honest, and I'm not sure how to represent that mechanically.
I think this would be, so this is one of the like expansions where it's a little different from the original one. Resolve tokens are only received for progressing an inner conflict during the upkeep phase, and it is based on basically if you think your character has done something to address one side of their inner conflict. The text says in the cycle that we only made our inner conflicts at the start of the passage of time. So I guess in the other scenes that were not related, that were not specifically related to your inner conflict, if you feel like what progressed from that affected those decisions, then you can mark a side
So here's my
off.
justification, and tell me if I'm thinking right. For you sacrifice something important and you hurt or push somebody away, it's kind of the same thing as that I saw her, she refused to ever respond to Harriet at the time. She never wrote her back. She let her go without ever responding. So that's the hurt or push someone away.
Yeah.
Important. And then she actually sacrificed her dream of going to being with Harriet and saying, and in some ways, like if my career is going to be a tutor, I'm going to find somebody good and I'm going to live a good life and I'm going to do this well. And she kind of committed completely to Arthur and Tristan, and without considering her own desires in that case. Like, so that's why I was saying like her actions over those 10 years were heavily on the career and side.
I think that makes sense to me. So you can take your 2 resolve tokens there. And Marleigh, I think you get 2 extra, 1 extra.
Sure. 2, 1, I don't know.
Yeah. I would also, since you have like basically settled on one side by clicking that last one where your actions in pursuit of this side destroyed your chance of successfully pursuing the other, you can have in your mind some other conflict that is now facing Harriet.
Yeah.
Or Harriet is facing. Okay. And that, I think, is the end of the upkeep phase. So let's take a short, like, 2-minute break. 3. Unless we need longer. I just really need to pee. So, and then we'll come back and we'll probably do a truncated epistolary, which is maybe 1 letter if we can think of one, and 2 if you can think of one if you need to. And then we'll head into our second novel chapter. All right, I'll be right back. I say Penelope's lifetime desire so much. It is a mood. Okay, so we have our epistolary section. an epistolary phase, which again, a letter, a journal entry, dream or nightmare, or weather interlude, you will have up to 2 turns or more if you spend a resolve token. In the interest of trying to squish as much as we can into this session, probably 1 and then whatever you're inspired to do. I will not force anyone to do more. And I have a nightmare for Sir Martin, or a dream. I think it's just like after tearing up his father's will, Sir Martin wakes up in the middle of the night from this, has a nightmare of basically just walking through it's like the same thing that he was doing in real life, just like walking through the town, except this time there's just like no people anywhere at all. Like leaves are falling off trees and it's just completely and utterly silent, which is not real because there are a lot of dogs in our little town. And this is just an unreal emptiness to this world that he's in. And like he spins around and there's just like, it's gray. And when he wakes up in his bed, it's just, even like everything seems muffled, and that's probably because it's raining and thundering outside, and just like the pouring of rain blocks out other sounds. So that is what I have for Sir Martin's nightmare.
All right. I've got a journal entry idea, and I'm still thinking it through.
I've got a short vignette. Harriet is in London, wearing morning grays, and it's a bit rainy, walking home, and hears a noise from a little alleyway, and it's a dog. It's a stray dog. Seems to be not doing terribly well, and she coaxes it. Oh, speaking of dogs, and she coaxes it closer, and yes, good boy, free, jump. Okay, let's go hang on. And it comes to him, comes to her willingly, and it can't seem to walk very well, so she scoops it up and she takes it home. And her mother is there, and she's looking quite frail. The mother looks kind of quizzical at the dog, and Harriet just says, "Well, it needs us." And the mother says, "Okay," and that's the vignette.
Yeah, I think for Arthur, I think his is going to be a letter to Tristan, and say, my dear Tristan, hopefully this letter should arrive ahead of me, but I am making my way back, and I should be in London in a few days' time. My last voyage was most exciting, and I shall tell you more of it when we are finally able to see each other again. I hope you have been keeping well, and your studies continue favorably. I'd be so happy to see you once again. With love, your father.
That helps. Thanks, because I can play off that. So I see, it's an evening light passing through the window of, as she writes in her journal, and Penelope is sitting there, and it's a relatively nice room, but like, but also not ostentatious. And she's writing, and she clearly is keeping a journal every day. And there's like a couple of them sitting there, and papers on her desk, and little tourist brochures and parasols or whatever, like things that she's picked up as she's been around London. And she's writing, met Tristan for lunch in Trafalgar Square today. He is growing into such a good young man. His studies are pressing on him, but I know he has the mind for it. And I offered him all encouragement. He was excited to have received a letter from his father, who is returning home soon. And that very much buoyed his spirits. I am finding my time in London is continuing to be oddly happy and adventurous for one that I did not think it would ever be this way, though I'm finding that I need more and more, especially seeing Tristan, I am reminded that I need to find my place. And I've been enjoying London, but I've yet to find my place here. And I'm still wondering what that will be. And actually, like, she puts in small little parentheses and very fine print along the bottom, still no sign of Harriet.
So good. Does anyone else have things they want to do in this epistolary phase? Okay. I will say then that everyone gets a note with the Ellersby crest on it that basically invites them to a gathering at the Ellersby mansion in honor of Sir Ashton Ellersby, potentially. This is like coming from Martin, I think, as an invitation to buoy his father's spirits so that Sir Ashton stays in our world and not the afterlife a little bit longer, because Sir Martin does not want to handle responsibility yet. So with that, I'll close the epistolary and unclick everything, and we go into our novel chapter, which...
Can I clarify, is the mansion back in the village, or is there like a townhouse in London?
I think we'll say if everyone's in London, we can do this in London.
Okay, that was how I saw it. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, because I think Arthur was writing that he would be going to London, and Harriet is a free spirit.
One thing I would like to ask is if I can swap out Thomas for Harriet's mother, I think would actually be a more interesting character to have played.
That works for me.
Okay. Do I have to pay a resolve or anything like that?
No, it was part of upkeep. And technically you're supposed to have 2 connections, but I always just like cut down to 1 for like short-term games, because connections are hard to use sometimes when they're there and you don't really know who you need yet. So I kind of put the thing into my epistolary that I was thinking we should have an event chapter for our next novel chapter of our last cycle. Potentially just like a gathering of the town, but in London, and the people that Martin has kind of lost contact with over the years. If that works for everyone.
Nicole requested that Martin's father be there.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is in his honor. He is the guest of honor. Martin is trying to revive that spirit so that he doesn't have to deal with his father writing wills all the time. It's really distressing. He does not want those peace waistcoats. So if you want, we could maybe start with a scene between Sir Ashton and Martin, like before everyone arrives.
Rhea, sorry, could you give me a little context about how long Martin has been in London? Like, is this their first reuniting scene, or?
Yeah. Also, wait, there's like echo coming from somewhere. Is it? Yeah, I think it was you, Marleigh. Okay. So I kind of wonder if Martin has been in the Ashton Manor townhouse in London for a while, and like maybe a few months at least, and had this idea to cheer up his dad fairly recently. And he's probably been like pretending to work when Sir Ashton is around, but also in the middle of the night herring off to his club. And trying to be less sad about how empty everything seems.
How would you feel about reviving the fading rumor about Sir Ashton trying to get a gut check on how
yeah,
doing financially?
Yeah, we could do that. Because we
I think it'll have to be tweaked a little bit since we're in the same place in London setting, but that's just details.
Yeah. I mean, this could be a scene where Sir Ashton like checks up on how Martin's been handling the affair. So like maybe I think Martin like knocks on Ashton's door and is just like, "Father, are you ready? The guests will be here soon."
Hey, my dear boy, what's that? What guests? What are you talking about?
The guests, our not friends necessarily, but our acquaintances from the village. They are here to remind you that you are not quite 1 foot in the grave yet.
Oh, right you are, my dear boy. You know, sometimes these things just don't stay in my head the way they used to.
Well, you seem to keep an eye on me with all of your mind.
Well, what's more important to me than my son? Of course I keep an eye on you. Speaking of, how are you doing with that investment I sent you there a while back?
Considering our town vicar decided to head off to the sea, part of that investment has been, has been diverted to insert prosperous industrial thing here. Mining?
Yeah.
Northern
England coal mining.
Oh, there you go. Works for me.
Yeah. It seems to be doing well. I've just sent it to a man of business and they tell me things. And I assume that since they are not coming to me in tears, your investment money has been well spent, Father.
You know, I'm getting up there in years, Martin. I want nothing more than to see you settled and prospering.
Yes. And I am quite aware that you are getting up in years, but I hope, Father, that you do not take this as an excuse to, if you consider yourself to be getting up in years too much, I worry that will make it all the more real.
Oh, don't worry about me, son. Don't worry about me. Whatever happened with that nice young lady Harriet you used to spend so much time with? Is anyone special in your life these days?
Father, I believe you will have the opportunity to ask her that question very soon. Now, if you would just put on this waistcoat, I know it's your favorite. They'll be here. I feel like that's them arriving, actually.
Is my purple one freshly pressed?
Yes. I had the servants do it just now.
Excellent.
I think Martin will just like gently guide you towards the door where everyone has started to arrive. And then maybe we skip to like a dinner or something, which is potentially an awkward affair. Because everyone just returned and Martin is like,
I am kind of interested in, like, is Penelope there and then Harriet shows up, or is Harriet there and then Penelope shows up?
yeah, what's that look like?
I am interested in that moment, and
I'm open to either, though I will throw in the complication that I think Harriet is actually bringing her mother. So, trying to get her mom out of the house and, involved in things. And it sounds like this is going to be a fairly low-key gathering, so
Tristan
this
is
is probably a good
also
one.
there.
Yeah.
Just anyone can be there who wants to be there.
I love the idea that I first introduced to this dowager who I've never met before, and then only to realize, and she says, "Oh, you seem like a nice person. Have you met my daughter?" And and I say, "Wait, Ms. Stratford?" And it's kind of one of those moments where Penelope runs into the mother first, and then is suddenly surprised to see Harriet there.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. And has Arthur been there? Did he get there early, or is he there before Penelope and Harriet show up?
Yeah, I think Arthur and Tristan will probably turn up together. And yeah, I think that's yeah. I don't mind particularly whether it's before or after. I'm happy either way.
Okay. What if we have just like assuming that like Martin has been shepherding people in to some sort of dining room, the scene between Harriet and Penelope, and then we'll pan the camera to see how Arthur is responding to these love interests. I don't know what they are. Potentially, if that works for everyone. So yeah, do you need the scene set more, or is a dining room or like a sitting room or something with Harriet and Penelope enough to go on? You are muted, both of you.
Sorry, I was muted. I was just saying, are we seated so like we are in a place where we can't just easily move on versus to me that's an interesting dynamic of we have a certain place and we have to stay there. And so we're kind of pushed into the conversation rather than perhaps a drawing room where we could try to find excuses to not.
I like the idea where you are forced to talk. So it is up to you where you think that will happen. Both of you.
Yeah, so Harriet is not actually going to flee this time, I don't think. So I don't know how flighty Penelope is feeling, but sort of the obvious thing at a dinner party, if you don't want people to move, is that you get seated next to each other at the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so let's seat them next to each other or across from each other. Next to each other is probably better, so you can whisper.
And Martin did this on purpose, I'm assuming. And there's so okay. You see Penelope is sitting there and she keeps adjusting her fork and knife and spoon. Even though they're perfectly placed, she seems to just constantly, be adjusting them to make them even more perfectly placed. And seems, adjusting her water glass, just everything, trying to occupy her hands, not sure what to do. And finally she says, and her voice cracks when she says it, because she's been trying, and how are you, Harriet? But it literally, there's a crack in her voice because she's been holding it back for so long.
You're muted.
Harriet is actually looking much more composed. There's something about her that she looks a little more settled than she has in the past. She says, I have been well as of late. Mother has been in, Mother's health has been fairly good this month. I believe my presence, she tells me, is a great help to her. I actually, you will be delighted to know, took a page from your book and got us a dog, which Mother was not entirely convinced by at the outset, but now we have an extremely chubby dog, so make of that as you will.
Penelope can't help but laugh and look down. And she says, I do know that someone who receives your care and attention and of your delightful mother would always thrive in such circumstances. And but she says, you seem, I heard rumors that you were traveling. How long are you in London?
It's an excellent question. As long as I am done traveling for now, if that is the question. We have decided to give up the search for my brother and held the funeral this past year. So I intend to stay in London as long as my mother needs me. And I do like London. It's a interesting city to be in, very lively.
And Penelope gushes at that point and starts talking about, I do love London. I never thought I would, but, going down to Piccadilly Circus and, Charing Cross, the shops are just stunning, and kind of gushes. And it is sad that I have to go to the park to walk, Charlie, the little schnauzer that I keep, but and it is a bit crowded sometimes, and she just bubbles into a kind of life chatting about the city and her time here that she seems to surprised at how much she's enjoyed it, as it does not seem like something that the Penelope of ago would have been into, but and so
yes. After all the time, you can still surprise me. I never would have thought you for someone who would take to London so completely.
And she's like, I wouldn't have thought it either. And I don't know if this is a resolve token or what, but she when she says that, like, it's an honest, like, I never would have thought it either. And she reaches out and touches Harriet's arm in that kind of like convivial, friendly way that two people talking would do. But then she realizes what she did, and she immediately, pulls it back and is flustered again.
I don't think that's a resolve token. You can
Okay.
do that as long as like Harriet is okay with being touched.
Yes.
I would like to spend my monologue token again, too early, but I want to use it on Harriet to know what's going on in her mind as she sees Penelope for the first time in a long time, and then to have like a brief moment of touch and all of that.
Harriet is feeling a lot of feelings. So she had pretty much assumed that chapter of her life was over. It has been 10 years. Things did not part particularly well. Penelope had never reached out to her, and while Martin had told her that Penelope was in London, Penelope never came by or anything like that. So Harriet thought it was inappropriate for her to reach out. Even 10 years ago, she was the last to make contact. So apparently, somehow she sort of considered that the ball was in Penelope's court, and it was inappropriate for her to make another overture. But now she's getting some hope. There are flutters. So it's like she's beginning to wonder if there's actually something that could be rekindled here. They're kind of different people than they were 10 years ago, but that's not always a bad thing.
Yep. Is there more that we want to see from the conversation between Penelope and Harriet?
So I think Harriet actually is going to comment on the touch and say, my arm is not so fragile as all that. It is at your disposal.
And you see, like, Penelope laughs in that way that a long time ago when you were comfortable together, it was there, but then she catches herself and kind of looks away, not kind of smiling, but half smiling, like it's making her think. But for a brief moment, yes, it was like there's that convivial, easy closeness that had been there, so long ago.
If you don't mind sharing, where are you staying, Miss Rosewater? Do you have a card? Are you taking callers?
Oh, I don't have a card, but I have a modest little apartment over on, I don't know. I only know some major streets in London. I don't know all of them, but so, just north of the city. And she would look about. Yes, getting cards, I guess, would be a good idea. I did not know I would stay there that long, but I've made a bit of a home of it.
Excellent. Well, one hears we both have dogs that require a evening constitutional. Perhaps I could call upon you tomorrow evening.
Absolutely.
Pork Chop and I would be happy to happy to visit.
As long as Pork Chop is okay with Mimsy being a bit rambunctious. So.
That was Charlie.
Oh, it's Charlie. Sorry, Mimsy was the first name I thought. Charlie.
Cool.
And personally.
Okay. It kind of sounds like we can fade out on them talking about the puppies.
Mm-hmm.
Arthur, what have you been doing? I can sort of imagine a conversation with Martin, but also entirely up to you.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe a conversation with Martin and maybe Tristan in tow as well. Sir Martin, it is good to see you again, and I think Arthur is looks a bit. He's not got like the big full on like bushy sailor's beard, but he has got a beard now, a bit more neatly trimmed. His skin looks a bit weathered from being out on at sea. How have you been? How are things here in London?
A different pace here. It was a little bit too weird, bizarre in our town without all of you. I'm grateful that you've taken time from waves generally at the changes in Arthur to, from whatever it is you've been doing recently, to bolster my father's energy.
No, that's quite all right. I was due a bit of shore leave anyway, and I just brought back some fascinating specimens from South America to be planted at Kew and see if we can cultivate those. And but yes, it's been rather an adventure. And he sort of pats Tristan on the shoulder, and well, the Navy isn't the most generous of employers, but it's certainly at least paid enough to keep young Tristan here in his schooling, and that's been good enough for now.
Do you?
And we took the samples you brought us last time and been making it into a tincture, and we think it might have medicinal properties.
Excellent. Glad to hear it, my boy. Yeah, it's it's been hard these last few years to be apart from him, but he's managing to grow up into a fine young man without me, as you can see.
I suppose that if these medicinal properties that these tinctures will provide are profitable, potentially you may return to your old position. Or do you not intend to seek employment here?
I've not decided yet. I assumed my old position had been filled, but I may seek work with the church again, or possibly I may do some lectures with the Royal Society. We shall see.
I keep telling him that the lecturing position would be very suitable, and he would be in town, so he could spend time with myself and Miss Penny.
Indeed. Have you seen Miss Penelope, or Miss Penny, as your son seems to call her?
Oh, sorry, it's an affectation, a nickname from when I was younger.
She waves across the table.
Yes, we've had a brief what's what I'm looking for, reunion since I've been back in town. She's been a wonder taking care of young Tristan.
Dear Reverend, or I suppose chaplain, or whatever it is you Navy men call yourselves now. When you last spoke, though, it was another of our guests that you had been thinking about. Now that you are independent, or as independent as serving the Royal Navy can be.
What's this, Dad?
Old history, Tristan. But no, I can assure you my intentions for towards Miss Penelope are entirely honourable, Sir Martin.
Well. Who would have known? The Reverend Claythorpe. So that's it then. No. No marriages for you? Is that what you're telling me?
I rather think I'm a little past it these days, and I think maybe you had the right of it when we talked that time in the churchyard. I think marrying for a fortune was perhaps not in my destiny, and he's going to ruffle Tristan's hair and say, "Now this young one, on the other hand, him, I'm sure we can get a fine young woman for him, wouldn't you say?"
Tristan blushes.
Ah, yes. And if you would just provide your, well, father's old friend, if I may be so presumptuous, with a list of the qualities that you desire, perhaps we could do something about that.
I'm supposed to have a list? Is that how it's done in London?
Well, that's how Martin does things. Apparently. She's a matchmaker.
I feel like I'm being tricked into another quiz. Wasn't expecting a test tonight. I haven't studied.
If it's okay, can we fade out on Tristan giving like a list of, or not giving a list and complaining about studying instead?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Are there any other combinations of people we'd like to see at this dinner party? I think Martin probably just gives like a short speech about how happy he is that everyone is back and has a chance to talk to each other while making.
I think it might be interesting if Harriet noticed, like, that Penelope is very, like, just like she comes up, she unabashedly puts her arm, in a motherly way around Tristan, and even like, so good to see you to the Reverend or chaplain, taking his hands and talking. You're so distinguished. Look at those.
This sounds.
You've seen the world. Have you made it to the Galapagos yet? I can't wait to hear about it. But there's this very clear like intimacy from the years they spent together, familial like there, and that Penelope is quite at ease with them after her time. And so, however Harriet reacts, but she would very clearly see this sense of family.
This sounds like you are trying to compel characters who are not your major character to do or feel things. So I feel like there should be resolve token negotiations happening between both Penelope and the Reverend and Penelope and Harriet, since these are actions that will be affecting them.
So
I will give Tristan's compliance for free.
Okay.
He totally gives Penelope a kiss on the cheek and is really glad to see her and stuff like that.
And if the Reverend is accepting of all those things happening to himself and his son.
Yeah, no, that sounds fair, yeah.
All right. And does Harriet require a resolve token to notice these things or feel said things?
Yeah, that would certainly inspire some feelings. If you want her to act on them immediately, that's going to take a token, because I don't think she's in the mood to like flip tables about it or anything like that. But yeah, I think she notices it, and she's a little bit jealous, but not in romantic sense, more of, recognizing that this time has passed and she wasn't there. So the ease is sort of what she's jealous of and wishes she could have had.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I'm not sure. Mark would resolve tokens beneath Lady
Mhm.
Beatrice, which seemed an odd place, but I didn't see where else to.
Oh, where? Let's see. Oh, no. I can.
Where should they be?
So
No.
it sounded like the real resolve token exchange there was between Harriet and Penelope in the end, because I think Tristan was
Mhm.
doing it for free, and Arthur, I think, was also fine with not taking a resolve token.
I
Potentially.
mean, I think I have like 5. I'm happy to spend them.
Yeah. So Penelope, you have 2 actually.
Where are those marked?
Underneath your little description.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
got
I will take one of your resolve tokens and pass them over to Harriet to have her,
So, yeah.
if she is acting on this, then if that is what it sounded like Harriet was going to act on it. If not
immediately,
Mhm.
at least maybe it influences our.
Yeah, I mean, it was more she was having feelings,
Okay.
but I think her plan at this point is to basically rekindle things slowly and see how things go. So yeah, she was not about to do a giant love declaration in the middle of the
Mhm.
dinner party or anything like that.
But are you being influenced by this scene of ease then? Or is it something that you would have felt anyway?
Somewhat. I think it does hit upon her sort of her short-term and long-term desires of
Mhm.
like, this is, yeah, that's the kind of thing I want.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I will just keep that as it is. Yeah. So do we have anything else you want to see from this night where everyone is together for the first time after 10 years?
Yeah, I'm sure Harriet and Arthur talk, but I'm not sure I particularly feel I need a scene about it. Though happy to do one if you want.
We have epistolary coming up soon. So if you need, we can also use that for like messages, etc.
Mhm.
Cool. So if there's nothing else, I think we can say the rest of the night goes with like potentially awkward glances and conversations. Maybe, I don't know if this has bolstered if this has done anything to Sir Ashton feeling happier in this world. That's what Martin hopes, at least. And then probably just everyone, well, we've come back together and people are more set in what they want out of life. So that probably ends this novel chapter. We do have reputation next. So if you again will look at your family backgrounds and determine if anything between the last time we did reputation and this novel chapter results in a change in your tags, that is, now is the time to do that. I need to find my family background sheet.
So, if I'm thinking about this, both the rude and devious that were put on her were basically because of her dealings with Martin.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel like the rude is gone. And I have no idea how, because he thinks of everything as like almost a plan, type of, or he seems to. I'm just saying, like, But I felt like the rude is just not there anymore.
I think the negative tags will stay there until they are used in a scene.
Gotcha.
So society still sort of has this sense of her being rude until we actually push that and say using the rude tag as a token, basically, to have something worse happen to her. But if you take another tag right now that is negative, you won't pile up another reputation condition if that is a concern. But how the character feels about her might be different than what society thinks about her.
Sure.
Trying to think if I have done anything that necessitates my reputation changing. Oh, okay. I did sort of act in the service of duty or morality in a way that compromised my desires, I guess, because I wanted Harriet to and Penelope to work out their love for each other instead of like necessarily fixing my friendship with Penelope. So I'm going to take a reputation tag of a positive tag of what's word.
I think it's like it's more a kind of rather than a specific like single instance. I think that the Reverend's kind of association with Penelope is perhaps looked on with a bit of dubiousness by society as a whole, as sort of represented by Sir Martin just then. So I think I'm going to take hypocritical as a tag.
Amazing.
You said that was with Harriet or Penelope? Harriet?
With Penelope,
Oh.
yeah. The sort of the you know her kind of like foster mother role towards Tristan, I think is kind of it gives people the wrong idea about the Reverend.
Okay, cool.
Penelope and Harriet. The Google spreadsheet tells me that you're clicking.
Yeah, I'm looking at the family backgrounds and I'm trying to think. So from a modern perspective, I see Penelope having grown and matured and become much more her own person. But is that in contravention to society's standards and expectations? I don't know how much we're playing that since we have, kind of certain things turned off. So, because I saw it as positive, but not.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to figure out how to think about that.
Right. In our collaboration, as we have gender power balance off, so it's not going to be the fact that she's a woman who's finding her independence. It could be potentially still, though, like a classist type of she was tutor from humble origins. Ultimately, it is up to you how you think society, our like Regency society with little historical importance, is going to think about this. But this could be one of those things where it's more interesting if this is what society thinks of her.
Yeah, I think Harriet got a positive reputation tag, and I added devoted to family.
Cool. So I think, if the question for Penelope's reputation tag is it positive that she has found her independence?
If that's considered positive, then yes. That was my thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of my question around, like,
Yeah.
Because that's how I see it. I just didn't know if that was appropriate. as a
I think that
positive
would
way.
work.
Okay.
Like, what do other people think? But I lean towards, I think it is positive.
Yeah, I think so.
Someone making something of themselves.
Yeah.
Cool. So you have hit a third positive, which is cool. And that means you get another reputation condition as the tutor. Which I think is really interesting because your positive reputation conditions as the tutor are equals, which is your employer and your children view you as one of the family. They extend to you the social privileges they enjoy. And trustworthy, you win your employer's absolute trust. They believe you can do no wrong unless proven otherwise. And in this case, if we want to just play it where it's your former employer.
Right. Yeah, I feel the equals part really works here, which may also play off of David Arthur's, like, because he's never made an honest woman of her, and he's never married her, he's never, so that he's a bit of a hypocrite in that he's gotten a wife without having to have a wife, and type of thing. So maybe that's a way to think about that.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah. And I almost kind of feel like maybe the shot we got from that last novel chapter with like the ease in which Penelope interacted with Tristan and Arthur is kind of this reputation condition presenting itself in the fiction, if that works.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. So that's our reputation cycle. Let's call this equals. And now we are skipping, because it is the last cycle of the game, Rumor and Scandal, and are going to... That does not mean that the rumors and scandals don't exist. They still do, but we're just not going to add more. We are skipping to the epistolary phase, which is the third one of the game, so we know by now how this works. So if you have any notes, dreams, journal entries, whether interludes to have, you get up to 2. And you can also send these as your connection.
Sure. Harriet will have a pleasant dream, and I'm willing to spend a token on it because I am going to dictate some things about her relationship with Penelope, assuming you are cool about it. Basically, that it's going well. And so, actually, I don't. No, let's do it more of a weather thing. So, yeah. So I think it's actually Harriet is has got the extremely portly pork chop on leash, and is heading over to Penelope's house for what has become their evening constitutional together. And the sun is shining, and she's just walking. It's a very fine day, and she's walking towards Penelope's door, and she realizes that she's actually extremely happy. She just kind of has this moment of realization that, like, this is what she wants in her life.
Is that a day vignette?
That's a day vignette.
That's very happy.
Mm-hmm.
I could play off of that, and it's similar, but it's going in terms of writing a letter. And I am going to lean on my rude and devious pieces because it's a letter to Martin. And
Love it.
This is a couple, I'm assuming this is a few weeks after or so since that dinner party. And as Penelope and Harriet go to walk the dogs, she has a letter and she's, I must post this on the way, but it'll just be a block out of the way. And then there's a bit of a flashback to her having her writing out this letter. And she says,
Make it extra rude.
But yeah, being extra rude.
Make it extra rude so we can get rid of this negative tag.
Oh, is that how I have to do it?
If you really want to lean into that negative tag,
Oh, I
want
would lean
it
into
to
it
be
as apology for it.
oh.
Oh, how do you lean into it? Sorry.
Into like I guess this is like hard to explain for reputation tags, but like with the negative reputation tag, it is something that you use to make things worse for your character. But if you meant lean into it as in being apologetic, that's also fine. And you don't have to be extra rude. I thought you were going to be like, I'm just going to continue to be rude to Martin to get rid of this tag.
Oh, I didn't realize leaning into it and being rude would actually get rid of the tag. That's interesting. Okay.
I should have explained that a little bit more clearly, I think.
Just didn't make logical sense for the moment.
We can send like an apologetic letter and that will be a thing. But if you want to be rude, that's also fine.
I'm just thinking if being rude is somehow dramatically interesting. Because my thought was that she was writing a letter to actually apologize for her previous rudeness and her distance, and that however he may seek to I don't know, maybe this is being rude, but use his influence and his money and his relationships to jostle the people in his life about that. She sees behind it that he is perhaps does care how this works out, and that he should know that if nothing else, he has given a new dawn to what was something that may have been at one point thought dead and gone.
Nice.
And so she's actually admitting that, whatever his intent of having that party, it did work out in a positive way. And for that, Penelope is grateful.
Cool. I like that letter. Also, I like how it's like Martin meddling somehow ended up making it better for the people he was meddling with. Very not straightforwardly. Let's see. I think Harriet's mother will leave her a note on the table. Like possibly Harriet was like getting ready to go out or something. Elizabeth will write her, my dear daughter, I'm very happy to see that you have finally, you seem much more cheery these days. I wonder if this has something to do with the dinner party, which we were so kindly invited to. My dearest child, I know that these few years have been full of sadness for us both, and that it is somewhat of a burden to you to keep me, to take care of me. I hope you know that you can fully, life is short, my dearest, and if you are going to have any sort of, official ceremony of some kind to celebrate your happiness, your mother would be very grateful to see this. I have attached your lunch for today. Sincerely, your mother, Elizabeth, sincerely. Also a lunch. Anyway.
I see.
That's great.
Do I respond to that, or
have to
how does this
respond
work?
to it? You can choose. We can see that in
Okay.
the future, or it can just be a letter that was written. So I think Arthur still has 2, and everyone else has 1 left.
Yeah. So I think Arthur will write a letter to Sir Martin. Dear Sir Martin, it was good to see you at the party through the other evening. I am sorry we did not get more of a chance to converse at the time. I feel I may have been overly dismissive of your suggestion about returning to my old position, and it was not my intent to cut you short on that. If you wish to receive me back in the village again, I can certainly see if I might retake my old position. But I, of course, would not insist upon it. But you, if you wish, it, I can certainly take it into consideration. Thank you once again for all the support you have given me over the years. Yours faithfully, Reverend Claythorpe.
I think Martin will respond to that with a letter, my second one. It's a Dear Reverend, not chaplain, I see, Claythorpe. I don't know how the military works. I would be very happy to see you return to our parish, as our current Reverend is far more of the doom and gloom type than you ever were, and it would be an amenable change to life here. I know that you no longer have the same desires as you may, or at least I know that you no longer are so desperate, or these are all like crossed out because he doesn't know how to write, in pursuit of a partner for your life as a reverend as you may have once been. But perhaps this little town of ours could do with 2 crotchety old bachelors helping it find its feet. I could use a friend these days, as my old friends have, well, departed and found other things to entertain themselves. If you would like to come back, I will gladly send our dear old Reverend off to find something else to do. Possibly your old post on the ship. It might be good for him. Yours sincerely, Sir Martin Ellersby.
I hadn't thought that we could do these on behalf of our supporting characters that were our connection characters.
Yep.
But that could be fun. So let's do that.
Or to be clear, you can send a letter on behalf of your supporting character,
right.
but not really set a scene around them.
Yeah. So Arthur's currently at sea?
Arthur's come back to our little town that we never named.
Okay.
But the other Reverend is out at sea, whoever they were.
Okay. So yes, Arthur gets a letter from Tristan. It's just it's a nice little letter about school, but it's also, it then takes sort of a bit of a turn in the middle, and it turns out that he has met someone, and is wondering if it was, and is kind of looking for some advice. When is it the appropriate time to bring them to meet you? How do you know that they're the one? All of that sort of thing. So yes, they are in the throes of young love. Yay!
Excellent, excellent.
One of the fellow medical students.
I kind of pictured that as one of the fellow medical students there at the college. That was exactly what I was thinking before you said that.
I think Arthur and Penelope both have one last thing to do for this epistolary phase, if you are so inspired.
Yeah, I think I was also thinking of doing a letter from a supporting character, and it's a letter from Lady Beatrice to Penelope. It says, my dear Penelope, I have been pleased to have you in my life these many years now, and you have brought great happiness to me. I fear my days are drawing to a close, and I'm not much longer for this world. But know that you have made my time upon this mortal coil that little bit happier. I also wished you to know that upon the event of my passing, I have arranged a small consideration for you in my will. I hope that it will help you live the life you wish and give you some little freedom. It would please me if you could visit someday soon, but I understand that your life is busy. Yours, Lady Beatrice.
Okay, that's great. Do we have another scene after this, or what?
You guys have one more, I think, a letter, journal entry, or dream or nightmare weather interlude if you want, and then we will go into our last novel chapter. If you don't have anything for this epistolary, we can also just stay there and then go on to the novel chapter.
Really quickly, I was just going to have Sir Ashton write to the apple of his eye, Martin.
No.
And just really briefly, and say, something along the lines of how reassuring he found it to be able to see Martin interact with his friends and all of the things that he'd been doing for these important people in his life. And it sort of really helped to reassure the worries and concerns he had about how Martin was doing and whether or not he was growing up and learning to take responsibility seriously.
Dad. I'm like 40.
Earning the family name.
Okay. Oh my gosh. I like my dad. Okay. So with that ends our epistolary, and we are entering our final novel chapter. So this is our chance to not quite bring things to close yet, because we have like epilogues to do. But yeah, and I'll leave this up to everyone if we want to do a bunch of like short visitation scenes where it's more one-on-one with the characters, or if we want to do like another sort of event. I will look at our collaboration that I sort of forgot to read through. We do want to see balls, confession of loves confessions of love in the rain, parties, balls, lots of balls apparently, courtship, conspiracies. I think we got some conspiracies. Didn't quite have Wickham and Willoughby's, but so this is our
Conspiracies didn't have to actually be well executed.
yeah, that's true. That is true. So this is our chance. Like, what do we want to see in this last novel chapter?
If you don't mind, I have a scene, but it does require Lady Beatrice and Elizabeth Stafford and Harriet Stafford.
Cool.
Strafford, sorry. And at Lady Beatrice's like manor back out of London, wherever her manor is, you know, north of our town or wherever she happens to be.
Yeah,
But
if Lady Beatrice is up for it.
Yeah, sure.
So I see it, you know, a carriage pulling up outside, and people come out, and it is Penelope gets out, and she is with Harriet, and then they both turn and help her mother down out of the carriage to this house. And Penelope, I don't know if Harriet has ever spent time here, but Penelope has spent the entire trip talking up Lady Beatrice and how much Elizabeth Strafford's kindness and benevolence reminds her of this woman who raised her and as a grandmother, and has always had this great, and so she's been talking her up, and but she very quickly, like, there's a moment as they enter the door, just staying within decorum when nobody's quite looking, the Penelope squeezes Harriet's hand and says, "I am going to formally introduce you." As they are walking up the hall.
This is
Just, you know,
Sorry?
as they're walking in the hall, briefly when nobody's around, she says that.
I should, much as it sabotages my character's interests, and I really want to see this play out, I feel the need to remind everyone that I have a great offense condition, and I think we decided that went to Lady Beatrice.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It's okay. It's okay. Your mother's here. I can help.
My mother's here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wasn't sure if we were assuming that had been already happening, or like if now was the time, or
Leave
what.
it up to both of you.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, David's smirking, so I'm just going to assume that he has ideas, and it will be glorious either way.
Yes, and I think Lady Beatrice is looking a lot older and frailer than last time. Last time we saw her, she's always is walking with a stick, and a very handsome young footman assisting her, and she will say, my dear girl, it is so good to see you again. Please do join us in the conservatory." And they'll sort of lead through the house where sort of tea things have been set up, and she'll be sort of helped into her seat. And please do tell me who this is that you have brought into my house.
Oh, dear Mama, you know this, you know, you tease. And I know that as I have spoken of her to you many, many times. And I want to introduce to you the Lady Harriet Strafford and her mother, the Dowager Elizabeth Strafford, you know, now of London, and I would like to formally introduce to you my fiance. And basically, I hold out her hand, Harriet's hand, in my hand to her. Do I'm noticing this tension that I don't understand at all?
Also, like, did Penelope clue Harriet in at all that she was being introduced as the fiance?
Just in the hall.
Just in the hall. Okay.
Yes, I have indeed heard much of Miss Strafford here.
All good things, says Mrs. Strafford from somewhere. Her chair.
I've heard worse on occasion, but are you really sure, my dear, after all this time, all this, all the trouble that you have been put through, are you certain that this lady is really worth all the effort?
You taught me well, Mama, that life is trouble. That life is what it is, and absolutely, that there is no doubt in my mind that you find meaning in controversy and meaning in trouble. And yes, there is no doubt she is worth everything.
I see. And she's going to, dramatically produce a pair of like, the sort of little glasses on a stick and peer at Harriet. And so, you, girl, what do you think of this arrangement? Do you really mean to take care of young Penelope here, or is she going to be wagered off in some gambling deal with a sheikh or something?
Mama, please.
Lady Beatrice, respectfully, I think you do Miss Rosewater a great injustice with.
No, we lost her.
No, we lost her. No.
You just gotta wait for the internet to stop getting in the way of love.
Steve,
I hear it with
Lady Beatrice runs the internet. She's cutting you off.
Apparently.
While I believe Penelope and I have held each other in our hearts this entire time, we did not stop living simply because we were parted. I believe we both had some growing up to do. Our lives were not put on hold. She has not been. The wrongs you're discussing were 10 years ago. And I think, if anything, I love Penelope even more for the woman she's become. And I think we are in a much healthier place now to enter into matrimony as equals.
Well, that certainly seems like you've at least put some thought into this. So if you are really convinced, Penelope, that this is a sensible course of action, then by all means I give my blessing. At least I shall not have long to regret my decision.
You're such a cynical one, Mama, but you know you love your love of life. And Penelope just throws her arms around her, and leans into Harriet. See, that was easier than I thought.
Elizabeth is just like sipping the tea.
Yeah.
And says like, yeah, well, you have much longer of a life to go than I do. It's a good thing our daughters have finally, well, gotten over whatever it is. They have grown up very well.
Quite so, Lady Elizabeth, quite so.
Now tell me, what is in this tea?
I think the trick is the brandy.
I see we'll get along very well.
And does your footman have a brother?
Also, yes, that. Very important that we know how hot these footmen are. Seems like, unless we have more words to exchange, that it might be a good place to end that particular scene. They just continue to have conversations.
Sure.
Are there other scenes we want to see from this novel chapter with any of your other characters?
Yeah, I guess it would probably be quite nice just to have a little scene with Arthur coming back to the parish church, coming back to the village, coming back to the vicarage. But I didn't have anything particular beyond that, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like if some things are like we can just do in like an epilogue or
Yeah, that's also good. Yeah,
because I almost feel like Arthur and maybe Martin have like sort of reached an ending, kind of.
Yeah,
with their in particular. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if we don't have anything else we want to see in this novel chapter, we can just go into our epilogue.
Sounds good.
Cool. All right. Let me just like check to make sure I've not skipped any cycles accidentally. So yeah, since this is the last cycle, we don't do reputation, passage of time, or upkeep. We just go straight to what is formerly an epistolary chapter, which becomes an epilogue chapter, which is basically kind of, you can do it in whatever, typically it's supposed to be like a letter or another epistolary, but most sometimes with people I play, it's like, it becomes more of like a vignette, or it could even be a scene, I guess. If we wanted to see a scene between Arthur and Martin, we could do a scene, or we could just talk about it in an epilogue. And this can be a letter to anyone, or yes, you could also just do a dream, since this is Emma. It is very broad, just whatever ending you wish to have in this mini series on whatever channel you're watching this mini series on.
Well, if Nicole and Neil are amenable, I think they do in fact get married. And probably don't take too much time about it, because that's a very long engagement. And so I think they're both entirely ready.
Agreed.
Absolutely. And there's what scene of coming out of the chapel, and there's obviously townspeople and friends and that type of stuff, and like a whole bunch of kids and dogs on either side of like the aisles as they come down, and in the more classic of walking under the arch or whatever it is type of
It's
thing.
like rice.
Yeah. I honestly don't know when the rice throwing thing was a thing or not, but
I just like remember the end of the Pride and Prejudice 1995 miniseries. So like whatever. Did Arthur do this wedding?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Did he have to watch the
to
two potential women in his life bury each other?
Yeah. I think he was mostly fine with it.
Okay. I was like, what's the shot of the camera on his face?
I like it's not bitter. It's more like perplexed. Perplexed look on his face.
Yeah.
Oh, so does Penelope still want to do her school, or is that sort of a dream of her younger self that she sort of passed along?
Actually, I see that as maybe a wedding gift, is when she tells Harriet about the consideration that was provided to her by Lady Beatrice and that, she says, and so now you can be as poor as you'd like, and I can still have my school. And that, she's kind of looking at, like making a joke out of it. But yes.
I think Mother would have an opinion on any planned poverty in my future.
But yeah, I see her as kind of actually making it. She would probably do that a lot, making jokes about you losing your fortune and being a scullery maid and having to work for a living and that kind of thing. So
yes. I think you've got the scullery maid thing wrong, though. I think more of a kennel master. I seem to have perked up a certain skill set when it comes to wrangling canines.
There we go. Yes, they have you in the kennels. Well, it's a step up, I guess.
I think Sir Martin's epilogue. I think I'll just write to Sir Ashton. It's like, Father, it's been a while since I've written you. Please accept these ledger excerpts as proof that your good faith in me has not been misplaced. You might say that the return of our vicar to this village has, well, at least given someone that I can talk of these things with. I do not know precisely how much I trust the financial acuity of a man of God, but I suppose they get tithes and such, and after all, it's good to have a friend to talk to. Life in this village is going quite well, actually. In a weird way, I feel like the dinner party at your house was a turning point for more than one of us. A new school is being built, and the children seem to be more controlled. One might say on a tight leash, but the leash is not very tight at all. I hope that you are finding my updates relaxing and that you are taking care of yourself. As always, here are some French fashion plates that you may enjoy with some particularly eye-catching waistcoats. Until my next update, Father, I remain your loving son, Martin.
Yeah, and I think we get a shot of the river. It's that the sun's only just coming up over the horizon, just starting to kind of light the valley up. But Arthur is already out, stood, sat by the river with sort of fishing rod out, and we kind of get that voiceover. It's nice to be back here in the vicarage again. It's been a long journey for me to return here. I feel that I feel a lot more at peace than once I did. I spent so long worrying over what life would hold for Tristan, but he seems more than capable of taking care of himself these days, with what support I can still give him. And now there is nothing to distract me from my enjoyment of these simple things here, and I can, I hope, find a place for myself here.
And on that, the piano music credit theme song swells, credits run, and I think that's the end of this run of Good Society Emma Forget-Me-Not. We managed to do it into session. A lot of screaming internally. And one like little thing is at the end of a good society name, technically we get to name the game we just played as if we had written a novel. So taking suggestions.
We never gave the name to the town or the village, did we? It was always the village.
Yeah,
Setting.
it could be like Habershire, which is the typical good society town setting, but we never actually called it that out loud.
Trauma and desire.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, it's almost like the Havishire Troubles or something like that. But it was, it's something along those lines. I was thinking, but
Like, I mean, if it's truly in the vein of Jane Austen, I feel like we need to go the alliteration route.
Troubles and tides and troubles, because we got
Tides and
like
Troubles.
the whole maritime thing and traveling. Something like that. David has a thinking face on.
Yeah, nothing's come of it yet, sadly.
Cool. Well, we have. All right, so that's the end. Let's do like a brief starters. No more wishes because it's the end and we have no more. And then I'll let you all go when we finished.